Hi everybody, it's Nick. I hope you're all keeping safe and doing okay in these challenging, different times. A few observations really to share. So I think I mentioned this the other day. This is a marathon, not a sprint, and I think last week was a week full of a lot of adrenaline and getting things in place to be able to transition to whatever this new norm is. And part of the big challenge with this new norm is we don't really know what it is. It's changing on a day-to-day basis, and it's really having the courage and the strength to constantly day in day out step into the unknown. And one of the things I am definitely finding is that that is really quite exhausting. So yes, it's important to have a routine, I'm finding, but there's a bit of a, excuse me, thinking my eye, a bit of a paradox there, because you also need to have some flexibility in that routine and not be too hard on yourself if some days you need to tweak that or change it. So, yesterday one of the things I found was after we got back in after a walk, it was awesome, just really caught up with me. And I thought, well, I'll just meditate for half an hour. And actually, I fell asleep for nearly 4 hours yesterday afternoon. I was really, really bone tired. And I was having a really lovely conversation this morning with somebody. And Nicola, thank you, because I think you articulated it beautiful. It's like the background disc, the whirring in the back of our heads just not stopping. And there's a lot of anxiety and there's a lot of question marks. And I definitely know that on a daily basis, I'm kind of having to steel myself for the day ahead. And that takes a lot of energy. So within whatever routine it is you're putting together, I think it is really massively important to build in some really proper self-care time in terms of, I would refer to it as downtime and just giving yourself a break from worrying about things, from thinking about things, from trying to make things okay, just from anything, and just really stepping away, whether that be going for a walk, having a bath, meditating, going for a run, doing yoga, whatever it is that works for you, doing some journaling. I think that's really massively important, because there was another conversation I was having, thank you very much, Madelaine, the day before, which was, in order to be able to help other people, you've really got to help yourself first. So it's that classic thing, isn't it, on the aeroplane, it's put on your air mask, your air before you put on somebody else's, because if you can't breathe, you can't help somebody else's. And I think there's something in that at the moment as well. And there was a really important point I was just coming up on. That's it, yes, menopausal moment. Sorry, I just lost it. Was one of the big things I'm finding is when I step out, it's not so bad when I go out for my exercise, because that's on fields, and therefore it's very open, and it's invigorating. But what I am trying to do is, whenever I see somebody, absolutely keeping social distance, which is really no problem where we live, it's in real rural land, I'm seeing a lot of people with their heads down, and you can see there's real anxiety and panic. And I think it's really important, wherever we can, to be able to spread a little bit of light and love. And that doesn't mean that these aren't difficult times. It doesn't mean that there aren't people suffering and things to worry about. It doesn't mean any of that. But it just means that everybody needs a little bit of respite, and we all need to connect, albeit at a virtual in a virtual sense or at a distance, with our humanity. So I really try with whoever I see just to say, hi, good morning, how are you doing today? Just to show somebody somewhere that somebody cares, because we don't know what anybody's story is. We don't know who's at home all day on their own and maybe may not be speaking to anybody. And the other thing I've found, and I am really finding this difficult, if I'm honest, is when I do have to go out for supplies, we try and go into town very, very little. And one of the reasons I do that is because I'm finding, I don't know how else to describe it, but the energy really, really difficult. And I think that's because there are a lot of people who, as I say, are worried, and maybe it's just because I'm sensitive to these things, but I'm really picking up on some of the anxiety and the panic, and it kind of sticks to you. But I don't want to be drawn into that anxiety and panic, because that is just not a great use of my energy. Where my energy needs to be is in bedding down to be able to help myself, my family, my loved ones, my friends, whoever I can reach, you know, see things from different perspectives, be able to find and navigate their way through this labyrinth of tunnels and unknown things, and, you know, keep their sanity within it. That's where I really want to be able to put my energy. So what I don't want to do is to be, it feels almost, you know, particularly when I'm in busier areas in town, almost like you could be sucked into it. So what I try and do, my strategy is I tend to try and do most of my shopping on the open air market for the local fruit and veg and so forth, is get in early, where there are less people, and just really get my stuff and go home as quickly as possible. But whilst I am doing that, I do always look at people and smile and ask them how they are, because I think it can really change. It can be a game changer for somebody's day. And it is something that I can do. I can do it safely from a distance. And if nothing else, it helps raise my own energy. So rather than me being stood there waiting to be served, looking anxious too, you know, I want to bring a smile. I want to bring some light into the day as well. And I think it's important in whatever small, tiny way we can, is we just think about things like that, and, you know, really focusing on self-care, taking time out to replenish your own cup, because I think there's a lot going on in our subconscious. I think there's a lot going on which we may not be aware of, which is all around this very, very significant change that we find ourselves going through. Now, insignificant change, insignificant adversity, in times of uncertainty, if you can actually let go and go with it, is actually where some of our greatest innovation and creativity can come from. But in order for that to happen, it is a big ask, and it is something, you know, I haven't got this down to a fine art at all, but I get up every day and I keep trying. If we cannot get too pulled down into the negative energy of it all, it is the times where perhaps we can, you know, allow that creativity and innovation in, and we can come up with some great hope and some very deep and meaningful connections. I mean, you know, I'm having conversations at the minute I just probably wouldn't have had at all had we not gone into lockdown, because, you know, I'm very proactively wanting to reach out and make sure that, you know, I remain connected to people, albeit virtually. So yeah, I guess I'm just sharing my thoughts, and I guess my own diary of getting through this, in the hope that it might, well, it definitely helps me being able to talk about it. So thank you very much. And that it helps other people too, you know. So yeah, please stay safe, take care of yourselves, sending lots of love. Bye.